Well, good day, fine people. I hope this finds you well. Becky Large here from the Large Impact podcast series, where we talk to people who are making a large impact, whether it's here, there, or everywhere. And today, excited to have Sapir Yarden from accessiBe with us. And, we're going to make an announcement and we're going to talk a little bit about her and her involvement and kind of how we got here. So hi, Ms. Sapir, how are you?
I'm so good, Becky. I'm so excited to be doing this with you, and thank you for having me.
Sure. So, I guess the big announcement is that accessiBe has partnered with Autism Travel Club and Champion Autism Network, and they are taking our autism readiness training. So, when they are making websites accessible and talking to organizations around the world, they are also autism ready, which is amazing. So that's exciting, but like it took a while to get here, and it started kind of with you, Sapir, a couple of years ago. We've been kind of working together. You interviewed me for, one of your podcast series, which we can, repost or share. And so can just tell me a little bit about you and your role in accessiBe.
Sure, happy to. My favorite thing to talk about. So, accessiBe is a market leader in the web accessibility space. We have a ecosystem of different products and solutions to make every website for any business accessible to all people. Within accessiBe, I work on our nonprofit partnership program, and it's an opportunity for our tech startup organization to partner with the disability community through local charities to the big name organizations, and supporting their missions around access and inclusion and making sure that their voices are heard in every piece of marketing that we do. So it's a really big pleasure to be in this sort of function at the organization and to make sure that the voices of the community are heard in our own internal decision making and really how we talk about web accessibility and the digital world and making sure that it's inclusive for everyone. A big part of that is making sure that we know what's going on with our partners and what opportunities we have to collaborate with them. And it was really lucky that the timing worked out for us, talking about Autism Acceptance Month, I think back in April, and you suggested doing this course. And we were able to onboard our entire company for it. So we got some really positive conversations started internally, dialogues about what is autism, what it means to be serving a population of people with autism, how we as a business are working around these conversations. So it's been really positive for us. And this is the type of thing that I get really excited about when I come to work.
That's amazing. Now, how long have you been there?
Close to 3 years.
And
So
is this, I don't know how old you are, where did you come from?
So I'm originally from the DC area. I grew up there, and currently I live in Tel Aviv, which is where our headquarters are. We do have an office in New York. And I grew up thinking I wanted to do public service. That was something that's, as a DC girl, you just sort of grow up with that mentality. But after college, I worked in the corporate world for a few years. And then I worked for a nonprofit because I wanted to give back. And in that space, I was actually managing a website for my nonprofit. So you probably know when you work for a nonprofit, you wear a lot of different hats. And one of the hats I was wearing was being the web developer slash designer slash nothing I was trained or skilled enough to do. And I was building a website according to what I thought made sense, which was aesthetically pleasing to me. But with no training, I don't know what looks good actually design wise and accessibility wise. I was mortified later to find out that I had essentially built the least accessible website of all time. So when I came to accessiBe, they train you on what an accessible website should look like, what that actually means, the implications of it, the consequences of it. And it was a really great learning opportunity. And that is basically the bread and butter of what I do today.
So when you were talking about building a website and it was like horrifically not accessible, I guess my couple questions are, is it the platform you used, like people use Wix and things like, is it Was it the platform you used, or you just didn't know or understand, or both?
So the first thing is awareness is key. We don't know what we don't know, and unless you have a conversation about it or exposed to it in some way, you're just never going to be fully in the loop about something. So that's one. The second thing is when you come to a website, even if the template that you choose is going to be accessible, we as humans have a tendency to want to design things that make sense to us. But we're also individual, right? We each have our own experience of what would make the most sense to us. And it was a fairly small nonprofit. The website had been around for a few years. So I was working with what I got. And I was making the changes according to what I thought it should look like. But there wasn't really any oversight or any sort of guideline that I even thought to myself, hey, I should be checking this, because it wasn't something that we had a conversation about. So even if it was accessible, which I don't believe it was, me coming in and moving headers and footers around, or adding images without alt text, or putting buttons with just click here, no real explanation of what they're clicking on, that is not accessible for a variety of different user experiences. And it's just something that until I had the opportunity to learn about it, I wasn't going to know anything else. So I'm really grateful for having that sort of exposure. And it also blew my mind in terms of all other areas of life, right? We don't know what an accessible travel experience might look like. We don't know what people with disabilities are experiencing when they're applying for jobs, or interviewing, or arriving at an office, or wanting to go out for dinner. These are all things that might be completely normal for me, but until I have that sort of exposure to someone else's shoes, I'm never going to see the difference. So it was a really great learning opportunity, and now I sing it from the rooftops.
So the we have accessiBe on our websites, championautismnetwork.com and autismtravel.club. And um so you just mentioned, just putting click here without
Mhm.
anything. So like if that is on a website and they install accessiBe, is there some sort of chatter between the two to try and help with that?
So the best thing in that case would be to have the awareness and to have someone dedicated to making sure that your content is accessible by reviewing the website. And that's why we're lucky to also have a professional services team who can do those sort of audits and inspections of your website. What the tool would do is make sure that an attribute that should be a button, or to us might look like a button, is actually going to be tagged as a button in the code level. So it could be tagged as something else. And when someone who is blind and using a screen reader arrives at that website, that button might not be tagged properly, and they could miss out on an opportunity to click on a resource that might actually really serve them, whether it's uh, purchasing something, signing up for your newsletter, just generally getting access to more information. So it's really important that things are tagged properly. And that's why it's also good to have that awareness so you can do it from the beginning. But our widget will be able to understand the code level and make sure that things are properly tagged for a better user experience.
Amazing. And so um how long has accessiBe been accessiBe?
Ooh, good question. I want to say 5 or 6 years now. It
Mhm.
all started with a piece of regulation, which basically said websites had to be accessible. And that led itself, there's this question of the chicken and the egg. What comes first, the innovation or the regulation? So I think here there was a little bit of, the W3C is a global organization that wrote the web content accessibility guidelines. They write what exactly an accessible website should look and feel like.
Mhm.
There's standards around it. But governments around the world haven't really specified what that looks like. So once a government has started doing that, which in our case was the government in Israel, that's that led to a lot of innovation. And now I think we're at this sort of cutting edge space where people realize, wait, businesses are online. Businesses have websites. You need to make sure that it's accessible for everyone. If 27% of the population, according to the CDC, has a disability, then that's 27% of the population that needs to make sure that they can access your website. And that really is where this whole conversation started. Since then, accessiBe has gone through a lot of different evolutions. We started out as a one product company, which is the Access widget that you talked about. We added on the professional services so that you can have those manual checks by our team, user testing, file remediation, video remediation, for example, making sure that we'll have transcripts and closed captions on this video. And then we also have a new product called AccessFlow, which is a developer tool to help them manually add accessibility in from the beginning. So we're doing a lot of great things. And our nonprofit partnership program allows us to communicate with disability-focused organizations to really make sure that everything that we're writing about our work or everything that we're doing really has that community voice embedded into it.
Awesome. So you mentioned the latest thing, the last thing for the web developers,
AccessFlow.
Access Flow. Because,
Yeah, I
you're
haven't been on
talking
the team
about,
that decides the names for things, but I do love them.
so yeah, it's all good. So, it's kind of like selfish on my part. I just started to think about when you were talking about the tags and everything else. I was like, well, that's great. And I thought about the person who helps with our website and does all the back end stuff. And like most, you wouldn't
Yeah.
know maybe a couple things, but wouldn't know. So that sounds like an amazing tool. And you've already launched that.
Yeah, that was launched over the past year. And there's a lot of really great resources also for free in your accessiBe account and on our blog. So if you are interested in learning more about, how to make your social media more accessible, how to have an inclusive interview process, all of those resources are led by our nonprofit community. They help shape all of our content, and it's added onto our website to support businesses. Because how cool is it that the disability community can actually speak directly to our business customers and tell them this is what would benefit our community. You can learn from us.
It's kind of the model I've created between Champion Autism Network, which is the premier ambassador for the Autism Travel Club here in the Grand Strand, is educating businesses and having our families be able to check in on the app, leave reviews, talk to the businesses, and like just create that relationship where they feel included, because so many people with autism and their families feel completely isolated. I was at one of our sensory friendly events yesterday, and it's such a special time. And talking to a couple of different moms, one like way over this way and another over this way, and do you have supports? And we feel so alone and everything. And I was like, you two need to talk. Their kids were about the same age. It's just like creating that connection, and then having the ability for our families to talk to our business partners. And it's creating this community. Of course, ours is this little autism thing over here, but that's just my jam, so that's just what I do. So, you mentioned that you grew up in DC and now you are in Tel Aviv. There's a lot going on over there. And so not knowing a lot about your geography, God forgive me, I'm hoping that you're safe. And what it was like what it's like to be that far away from friends. I know you have friends where you are now and family and everything, but like when they offered you the job and then you found out you had to relocate, was were you excited about it? Or I just don't, tell me about that transition.
Happy to. I was living here already during COVID times, and that was very isolating and difficult, especially to be far away from my family. So, I was looking for an organization that was doing that sort of public service I had mentioned before, but still doing something innovative. And I think it also touches on what you were just mentioning about connecting businesses and community and sort of those public-private partnerships where a business or a commercial business might have the resources to support nonprofits or social initiatives. And I wanted to find an opportunity to be in that space. So coming out of the lockdowns and everything around that, I found accessiBe, and I'm really happy that it was just
It
sort
sounds
of
like,
like,
like really you stepped in something, like,
yeah.
like honestly, because as I just said, hey, tell us how the transition was. And you were already there. And then you
Yeah.
found this like almost like perfect job. I mean, no job's
Yeah.
perfect, but like, wow.
It takes time. It takes time for anyone listening. It's not like, oh, yay, just cross it off the list. It takes time to find what you want to do and how you want to do it and all of that. But I am very lucky to have a good support system around me
You had,
and to make really good friends through my work, like you, Becky.
oh, you're so sweet.
Well, we became
Hey,
really
y'all, I
close
gotta
over
just,
the past couple of months.
right, I know, we just have to share, this partnership between accessiBe and the Autism Travel Club is so exciting. And literally, it has been, it took a hot minute to get to where we are. We've been working for, like you said, months. And a lot of it has to do with timing and vacations and, and just things kind of, life and business get not in the way, but, there's other priorities. So I'm so happy that we've finally arrived here. I wanted to go back to one thing when you were talking about accessibility and resources for people who have an account. And one of those you had mentioned was employment or interviews. Can you just talk a little bit about the resource that is? Explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a lot of really good resources on our blog, which you can just go to accessiBe blog. But we've also created sort of an educational component in our accounts. So for businesses who want to learn more about how to continue that accessibility journey, whether it's in their marketing, their workplace environment, anything else that they're doing that they think ties between the business and the accessibility world, we're trying to create as many resources as possible to help guide you through that process so that you can come in and really have some actionable steps on how to improve your accessibility, because it's not a one and done. You have to be mindful of this and you have to continue on that journey. And anyone in this space will tell you that. So we're really working to help support other businesses because we have a long way to go. So we want to support other businesses who are just getting started as well.
And, I'm on the DEI council for the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce. And DEI, everybody stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is kind of what's driving Sapir, towards the nonprofit sector. And what I've learned is that there's so many ways to for accessibility, whether it's wheelchair use or mobility issues and cognitive issues, and like there's just and then every time we're learning more and more, and it can be, oh my God, so overwhelming because it can you can really get granular. One of the things that I consider to be granular is the colorblind glasses now, and like and having people who are colorblind be able to have access to and really seeing the beauty of art and art museums, right? And all the colors and it just which that just blew my mind, right? My brother's colorblind and I never even thought of that, and how I there was a video somewhere. It's one of my friend's kids was colorblind and they gave him the glasses and he walked outside and looked at a rose bush where the roses were red, and he had never ever, they've always been brown before, like he's like, oh yeah, whatever, sure. But like blew his mind. So there is a lot. And I'm wondering, would you be willing to jump onto that resource uh page and just share it briefly with us? Is that something you
Let me see if I
do?
can. I don't know if would we be able to cut that out? I don't know if I can.
Okay, then
Let's
let's
see.
don't worry about it. We're just gonna skip over
Okay,
that. So we're
cool.
yeah.
But um
So for the
I
employment
do
things,
one more thing though. I do love those videos of people putting on the colorblind glasses for the first time, and it's so beautiful. And it reminds me also of the cochlear implants when someone hears for the first time, and just the amazing things that technology can do to be the great equalizer. And I just think it's absolutely incredible. Today I was reading about a technology. I don't remember what it was called. I'd have to go back and find it. But it's there are pre-selected phrases, and with their eyes they can select the phrase and it would read it out loud. So
spec up special like Google Glasses or whatever kind of thing.
something like that. Yeah, I just read about it before we jumped on and I think it's so cool. So I love the advancements that technology is making, and just making sure that it's allowing everyone the opportunity to have a seat at the table, or to speak, or to be involved, or to see things the way that everyone else does.
I can imagine that, because accessiBe is a global corporation, and, I guess it's based in Tel Aviv, but then also has an office in New York.
Mhm.
Um, I guess it's just so interesting, the evolution that is occurring. And one of the reason why I asked about the employment end of things is that what we're doing is we're training businesses and communities on the needs and accommodations of people and families living with autism. So, one of the issues that we have, everywhere, I don't know if it's the same over where you are, is human resources. Finding human resources, finding and keeping human resources is huge, especially here in, a travel destination. And and it doesn't even have to be that way. There's just everybody's struggling to find it. Um, so what we do is, we've already got trained and aware businesses. And instead of having to need a job coach from a, autism organization that goes and is the buddy with this person with autism, if we have in the businesses that we've got trained and aware employees who are willing to be a coach
Mhm.
for these people with autism. So we have these relationships with these autism ready businesses, and then these people with autism, and bringing them together. Of course, one of the issues is people with autism, especially initially, you know, are probably pretty good for like 2 hours, maybe 1 to 3, depending on who the person is. So rather than having one employee for 8 hours a day, you might have three. However, the productivity from those three people for those couple hours is amazing, and they're loyal, and they want to please, and they want to grow, and they need to feel part of something in the society. So I'm really interested to explore a little bit more what you guys have, and maybe I can add you to our resource page, or just share it, um, and when we do our social media blast for this. So tell me um, about your team. You've already shared with me that many have been participating in the autism readiness course, and you've gotten some good feedback. And is there one or two things that would like an aha moment for somebody, or like, what do you feel like the training has provided or will provide your team members? Or what's the hope on that anyway?
Well, the hope would be, first of all, that's a great question. The hope is that there's more awareness internally. As a tech company, as a startup, some of our employees aren't necessarily here because of the mission. I mean, it's a great mission, and they should all be enthused and excited about it in the way that I am. Maybe not in the way that I am, but they should be. Uh,
Not everybody can be us. They just can't be. Sorry.
but there are different motivations for someone to join a business, but to then have that opportunity to learn about the community that you're ultimately meant to be supporting is a really great thing for you to have in the back of your mind of, oh, well, if I have that sort of knowledge, or if I know about that certain experience, then I can develop better, I can market better, I can write better, I can sell better, whatever it might be, whatever job function it is here. They can do it better for that specific community, or have an awareness of what it might look like for someone else. And I think that's really important, because we don't always have those conversations in the business setting. So I'm very lucky that our business saw the opportunity and went for it. Um, but it also means that we have to look internally and say, okay, are we recruiting from the right places? Are our own processes accessible? How do we find the right employees for those right opportunities? So it's all sort of in this world together. And I think the most important thing is to have the initial conversation. And the piece of feedback that I got from the training that was, I think, the most monumental for me was that someone said, "Hey, our team, the whole team, completed training, and they said it really sparked some interesting conversations internally." And to hear that, oh, okay, this wasn't just something that they were taking off the list, but that they actually engaged in with one another, and that they can take home with them and say, oh, this is something really cool I did at work today, and it actually benefits me in XYZ ways, makes me happy. And hopefully other businesses are encouraged to do this training as well.
Hey, great answer. Good question. Great answer. Love it. And that it wasn't even, I guess good response, and very excited to know that it is, sparking conversation. And that's kind of, um, partnering with, national and international corporations and having it be, it's all about boots on the ground, right? Like we want, we love it. If the C-suite would pay it, not pay attention, God forgive me, I can't believe I just said that the C-suite would participate. It's hard, it's a little bit hard to carve out 30 or 45 minutes. I get it. But that they are supportive of the initiative and, amplifying what we're trying to do, because we all know that my personal mission is World Autism Awareness Domination. And y'all, if you want to learn about me and what's driven me, I gave a TED talk and it's on TED.com, or, I can share the link too. So anyway, it's kind of fun. Sort of, if you're into that. It's 10 minutes. It's not a long time, but it's a little bit insight into me, and what drives me. So what drive, you are, a Spitfire, you're really engaged in your role and what you're trying to do. What helped to shape and mold you? I know you said you're blaming DC, which you can do. But, I think that a lot of this, could come from home, right? It doesn't come from nowhere. And I'm just kind of interested to know, a little bit more about you, Miss Sapir.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very grateful to my parents. I think a lot of it does come from education, and also just the drive that they put in me. And I don't know, it's a lot of different things. It's motivation from conversations with friends, and I attended a Catholic university, a Jesuit university, Georgetown, where they like to quote Saint Ignatius, who was a Jesuit priest, and he said, "Go forth and set the world on fire," which I still think is a very powerful statement. And I think it's just something that in my peer group, especially in my generation, there's a motivation to do something good for the world, to leave it better than when we had. Don't know how well we're doing on that, but the state of the world is a little bit
I'm flying under the
iffy right
radar
now.
and doing the best I can every day.
Yeah, but I think that's important. It's like we're each trying our best. We're each trying to do what we can, and I'm grateful for the opportunities that I did have and the opportunities that continue to be created.
Okay, so here we are today, announcing this wonderful thing that we've done together and will continue to do, which is horribly and it's just like terrifically exciting. So thank you for your interest. But what are kind of like, let's say, your goals or hopes and dreams? Because you have, your department and what you do. You're inside a much larger organization. And so, there's that push me, pull me, like, so, but if you were given kind of carte blanche, what would you do in your role in accessiBe? Like what would you do? Like, what would you do? Doesn't even have to be within accessiBe. Run for president? I don't know.
Yeah, world peace.
Yeah, there we go. I'm with you.
Right
Yes,
now.
yes. Kumbaya. Let's do it. Let's just sing Kumbaya. Come on, everybody. We got this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it changes with the air of the times, right? And right now I think my goal is just be happy, be grateful. It's a practice. It's not every day. You caught me on a good day.
Right.
But I think that's really important. And yeah, I think you mentioned DEI earlier. So diversity, equity, inclusion, I think that's a really important field, which in a lot of businesses, maybe there isn't an allocated budget for it, which is risky. We're seeing that the younger generations are more loyal to businesses that do put an emphasis on inclusion, on diversity, on social impact. And so we want businesses to gear in that way as well, because we see higher returns. So that is something that accessiBe is aware of. That is something that all businesses should be aware of. Who is the population of consumers around you? Who is your target audience? But something that often is missing from DEI is the A. So I like to call it IDEA, but that's not the industry term. So DEI and accessibility.
Oh, so
Which
it's
is,
funny because I have DEIB and the B is belonging.
I love that. I've seen DEIB and I never knew what the B stood for. So thank you for that.
And I wouldn't have known what the A was for.
Yeah. So that's why we have these conversations.
It's true. It's true. So we have to
Uh,
like arm wrestles. I think it's B and you think
yeah,
it's A.
it
You
can
know,
be all of the letters. It could
right?
be
We're
A
just
through
gonna have the
Z.
whole
We just need to
alphabet.
find something that fits
What
for
does the
everything.
J stand for? I don't get it.
Justice.
Oh yeah, right. That's just okay. Then
I
what?
did meet with someone who told me that her job title for our podcast, I interviewed someone, Tara, if you're listening, hi. But her title was Justice, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, maybe. I don't remember what the I was, but together it stands for Jedi. And I was like, I wish that was my job title.
Yes.
How cool. I'm a Jedi at work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that left a good impression on me. And I feel like if you can
Badass
get that
Jedi.
title, it really made it.
Gosh, I guess so. I love that. And what is your title?
Nonprofit partnership program lead. It's a bit of a mouthful, but I get to lead this team, which is really fun and really, really cool. I'm really appreciative.
So, every day we have tasks and duties and goals and things like that, and then we've got, the short, mid, and long-term goals. So, um, what are you working on today? It's Monday, by the way, and she's ahead of us, so she's towards our end of her day and looking for a drink. So, we won't keep her much longer.
This is how I know we're good friends, because you know. Um, Short, mid, long-term
So
goals.
what's on your calendar, like on besides this? I guess I should ask either what were your goals for earlier today since your day's almost over, or
Yeah.
tomorrow? Like what
Well,
is
it's a Monday, so
that
it's getting through all my emails and making sure that I'm answering everyone and that I can cross everything off my list. Um, but in terms of short-term goals, well, July is coming up. It's Disability Pride Month and the ADA anniversary. So we definitely want to highlight the advocates in our community and the work that they've done or are doing for inclusion, which is awesome. And that's I guess short term. Midterm is we have a lot of really cool projects that we want to do around the travel industry and making sure that it's accessible, or employment and making sure that internally and other businesses are recruiting, hiring, employing in the best possible ways. And long term, making sure that the internet is accessible for everyone.
Not too much,
Not too much, just
No.
a,
And now
a
I
day
want
in
to
the
lay
life.
down and take a nap. You exhausted me.
I know, me too. Me
You're
too.
like, oh, wait a minute. Holy cow, did I just say that out loud? Don't share this with upper management because it's all over, right? Like it just. So is there anything else that you want to, share with the people who are watching about you, accessibility, what we're, trying to do around autism and, autism travel, or, it's like it's closing thoughts, perhaps.
I think if everyone could have a conversation with you, or a conversation with someone who is, representing a different organization or community, and learning a little bit about what it is that they experience, and just opening yourself up, opening your ears to hear someone else's story. That's what I would challenge the listeners today to do. I think it benefits you in ways you don't even know. And that would be my closing message. But also, thank you, Becky, for all of your support and everything you've done. And we're so appreciative of the autism awareness training.
Oh my gosh. Well, blessed to have partnered with you and met you and worked with you. And then, of course, Autism Travel Club and accessiBe together is wonderful, especially with the travel and the employment initiatives, and really looking forward to what happens next. And everyone, thank you, Ms. Sapir and the team at accessiBe for your support and interest in people and families living with autism. And so grateful to have you with us and visit with us for a little bit. And rock on and God bless.